This video is about configuring IP source guard in Commando Marshall C3500 series routing switches. IP source guard prevents IP snooping by allowing only the IP addresses that are obtained through DHCP snooping on a particular port. Initially, all the IP traffic on the port is blocked except the DHCP packets that are captured by the DHCP snooping. When a client receives a valid IP address from a DHCP server, an access control list is installed on the port that permits the traffic from the IP address. This process restricts the client IP traffic to the source addresses that are obtained from the DHCP server. Any IP traffic with a source IP address other than that in the ACL permit list is filtered out. The filtering limit the ability of a host to attack the network by claiming a neighbor host IP addresses. IP source guard uses source IP address filtering, which filters the IP traffic that is based on its source IP address. Only the IP traffic with a source IP address that matches the IP address binding entry which is permitted. A port source IP address filter is changed when new DHCP snooping binding entry for a port is created or deleted. The port ACL is modified and reapplied in the switch to reflect the IP source binding changes. By default, if you enable the IP source guard without any DHCP snooping binding on a port, a default ACL that denies all the IP traffic is installed on the port. When you disable the IP source guard, any IP source filter ACL is removed from the port. Also, IP source guard can be used source IP and MAC address filtering. So how to configure this IP source guard? So for that, we will create a VLAN. Configure terminal, VLAN database. Let us say we want to create VLAN 3. Exit, interface ETH-0-1, and we want to use this interface to access this VLAN 3. Switch port access VLAN 3. We can give the IP source in global configuration. We can give the IP source maximal binding number per port, let us say 3, and IP source binding MAC, any of the MAC ID 1111.1111.1111 VLAN 3, IP address let us say 192.168.200.1, interface ETH-0-1. We can also IP verify source IP. So interface ETH-0-1, and we can give the command IP verify source IP. For a normal interface also we can give, let us say, interface ETH-0-13. This is the port where I am connected to the switch. So IP verify source IP. You can verify this configuration by giving the command show IP source binding. So this way you can see the binding table, source binding table. When a IP source guard is enabled with this option, the IP traffic is filtered based on the source IP and the MAC addresses. Switch forward traffic only when the source IP and source IP traffic only when the source IP and the MAC addresses are matched, and entry in the IP source binding table. If not, the switch drops all the other types of packet except DSCP packets. Switch also support to have the IP, MAC and VLAN filtering. When the IP source guard is enabled with this option, the IP traffic is filtered based on the source IP and MAC addresses. Switch forward the traffic only when the source IP and MAC addresses and VLAN matches, and entry in the IP source binding table. The IP source guard prevent IP snooping by allowing only the IP address that are obtained through the DSCP snooping on a particular port. Initially, all the IP traffic on the port is blocked except the DSCP packets that are captured by the DSCP snooping. So, this is a very important tool which prevent or blocks the traffic which is not matching. So DSCP snooping binding on a port, a default ACL denies all the IP traffic installed on the port. So when you disable IP source guard, any IP source filter ACL is removed from the port, and IP source guard can be used at IP and MAC address filtering. So this IP source guard switch forward traffic only when the source IP and MAC address matches and entry in the IP source binding table. If not, the switch drop all other type of packet except the DSCP packet. The commando switch also support to have IP, MAC and VLAN filtering. When IP source guard is enabled with the option, the IP traffic is filtered based on the source IP and MAC addresses. Switch forward the traffic only when source IP and MAC address and VLAN matches and entry in the IP source binding configuration. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.